I am drawing a book called Superman Unchained. I worked on Justice League before that, and Batman, and some other books at a competing company. Anyway, I've been doing these things. We started like last year, and it's like a 15-minute little how to kind of draw session. And basically, my intent with this is to kind of demystify the drawing process. I really feel that all of us have an artist deep within ourselves. And honestly, if you guys just sit down and apply yourself a little bit, you too could be drawing comic books if you wanted to. So, last year I talked about how to draw more dynamic figures. I talked about how to draw Batman's head. I didn't really want to repeat myself, although I could. So I thought I would talk about some other subjects, unless you guys had some specific call-out, something you wanted to see. Some people wanted to talk about how do you draw hands. I'm having trouble drawing hands, or feet, or clothing and fabric. Texture. Anyone have any concerns?
Hands.
All right. What?
Hands.
Hands. Oh, really? All right. Okay. All right. So here's my quick how-to on hands. The thing is, most people draw a hand, and they will draw something like this, which is great if you are creating a stop sign. Right, but it's a very simple graphical representation of the hand. So the hand has a lot more subtlety and nuances in its shape. So you want to kind of capture that. It also has a lot of power. So when you make a fist, you can draw a fist like this, and it looks like a fist, but it's not particularly powerful. So if you clench it, you start seeing how the knuckles start moving around. It's almost like they're fighting for space, right? There's not enough room in the bed. Too many people in bed. I don't know if that happens to a lot of you guys, but sometimes anyway, so you get that, you see like the tendons kind of tighten up there. So that's really different than a sort of soft fist like this, and you can clench it. So there's all these things that happen with the fingers, and all the fingers are different sizes, and you have the thumb, which really makes it even more confusing. But here's how you can break it down. If you were to cut off all your fingers, you would not have a square. You would be left with more of a, you know what a pentagon is, right? Right? So it would be an offset pentagon, so you just kind of move a little bit to the left. Right? And then all you do is you draw one finger there. Because this is higher, you can draw the same length finger and pop the thumb out here. So right off the bat, we already have something that feels a little more naturalistic, right? And you get that nice asymmetry. Everything in the body is asymmetrical. Even your eyes. One eye is usually a little higher than the other. Your ears, same thing. One arm is typically a little longer than the other. And so the same thing happens. There's no real symmetry in the human body. And it's really nice to be able to capture the nuances of that asymmetry. So right off the bat, we've created this dynamic where you now see that this finger is lower than that one. This is the highest one, and then you have the ring finger and the pinky finger, and that kind of mirrors what we got going on here. So it's not really this, right? It's more like that, okay? And then the thumb, if you notice, it has these knuckles in it, and that's the key to drawing your thumb. You got to really pronounce the bumps in the thumb. So you really just put a ball here, and then you can extend it out. So if you do that, right, that is the underlying things that are going on in that thumb. So as long as you put a big ball and a small ball, you think about a snowman that's kind of pulled apart, you can capture that hand. Now I'm going to show that this hand is slightly grasping something. And so what happens is the fingers start clenching towards something. And so you get little balls here, and those are where your knuckles are, and that's where the finger kind of rolls over. And that's where your finger also gets the widest. If you were to do something like this, it's not so great, but it should be a little wider here. It didn't work out. All right, disregard it. So let's go back. And you're drawing that hand, and now you want to draw a real superhero hand. And the thing about superhero hands is it has a lot of power. And so what I usually think about is like a softball or a baseball. Right? You guys know what that is, right? Anyway, so I imagine a hand holding onto that baseball. So that's a knuckle, another knuckle, another knuckle. then all I do is I erase the ball very carefully. I have no eraser, so and so if you erase the ball after that, you get something like this. So you put that. Wow, looks Batman, and he's trying to rip out Joker's eyes or something, right? So he's grasping there, and so another thing that hands are super expressive. So if you notice, there's an artist named Gil Kane, and he was he was one of my influences growing up, and he would do these amazing shots of characters get punched, and then their hands would fly out, and then their hands would do this kind of thing, which, you know, if you ever get punched, you're not doing that, but it looks really good. And so, how does he do something like that? Really, what's so great about this is that he is taking a two-dimensional drawing and breaking it down to 3D space, and so what you get is a lot of depth, right? So if you think about space, you have your x-axis and your y-axis, and that's a 2D space. Once you go to the z-axis, you have your cube, right? So now all of a sudden we're going from a flat 2D image to something that already looks a little more three-dimensional. And then we'll add some rendering and maybe like a shadow, right? Now we're continuing the selling of the story that what you're looking at is a three-dimensional object, even though I'm giving you something on a two-dimensional plane, right? That's all the drawing is. Fooling the eye, convincing the person that what you're seeing is not a drawing or a bunch of lines, but some object of reality, and we can do that by creating shadow, having things go into X, Y, and Z dimensions, and so we're going to do the same thing with the hand. So when that hand is kind of going forward like this, here's that palm, that asymmetrical pentagon shape, here's that forearm, got that cleavage, palm cleavage, I don't know what to call it. And so we've got, this is your z-axis, here's your x, and here's your y. So now we're going to construct these fingers. And then I think there's what, 3 segments to the finger. So I just go ahead and jump to the end of the finger, and if you don't place it too far away from where you started, you can then just connect it up. Like it's harder to kind of draw it from the bottom going up. I just go ahead and drop the tips in right away, and then I just connect it up, right? Okay. So from the side, it would look like this. Right? But I'm going to have each of these kind of, what's it called? They're not going to be right on top of each other. They're going to fan out a bit. So this is the pinky finger. Here's the ring finger. Here's the middle finger. And then the pointing finger, the index finger, is kind of hidden away. So I draw it black to kind of suggest it's in the background, right? If I black it out, it drops immediately, proceeds into the background. And then I've got that thumb over there. And to me, all I have to do is draw the pad of the thumb and put the shadow underneath like that, right? Okay, look, you put a baseball in there. Right? See? So that's how you do it, all right? So does that help? All right, okay, great. All right, here's another one, very tricky. I learned this from Neil Adams. How do you draw a hand coming straight at you? Again, it comes down to the pad of the thumb, right? So if you take a hand, you see that's like kind of the flat pad of your thumb. So if you put your hand against a windshield like this, you'll see this, right? Right? So if you're going to draw a hand coming forward, you almost bend it at the knuckle here like this. So I'm going to show you the pad of the thumb. And it's a little wider here, but that's the base. See that? And that's the tip. Okay, and then I'm going to draw this pad right here. Alright, now I'm going to draw this pad, this pad, this pad. And now I'm going to just draw the rest of the stems. Here's that three-dimensional, that pentagon shape. Right? Right? Alright, just want to make sure I'm not going too fast. And then your forearm really is like what is it? I don't know, it's like the state of New Hampshire, right? Or Vermont, right? It's one of those states that go like this. Are there 2 states like that somewhere? Anyway, So, go like that. There you go. New Hampshire or Vermont. There you go. Dropping that elbow. Maybe a middle state like Montana goes right there. And I don't know what this is, but that's Big Onion. And that's where that shoulder socket's going to go. So this is like a Jack Kirby kind of hand coming forth, and draw that Jack Kirby crackle that we all know love. Super easy. We're almost home right there. And now how we're going to sell these pads, the same thing I did with that hand before where I dropped in that shadow right here. I'm just going to drop a little shadow, a little cast shadow, like right there. And then this hand, cast a shadow on this forearm. Very important. It's going to work out. There we go. So then you want to make sure that, again, you follow this this pattern where the fingertips kind of have that shape there. Right, so now you can take that even further to the extreme. You want to have a hand come directly at you, go ahead and draw the top part of that pentagon shape. Right? Here's the wrist in there. Okay, so the finger would come like that, like a battleship. But because we want to have it come towards you in space, I'm going to take these fingertips, I'm going to flay them up like this, so that you see the pads. Right? Where'd it go? Right, so I'm going to take that hand that's like this, I'm going to turn it up so you see the pads. Alright, so what happens? Alright. And there's this like little weird gross piece of tissue that connects your index finger to your thumb, but it's very critical to sewing this. I can pull it off here. Here's the top part of the pentagon that we're just talking about right here. Right? Here's the forearm, bicep, shoulder. Go ahead and drop that shadow in like that. Could be Superman, could not. Anyway, so you can see okay. So all this really works because I'm going to sell this idea that this hand is kind of coming forward at me. Right? And the same thing with the pointer. This is, classic Neil Adams thing. Another knuckle like that. And there's a guy pointing at you. You are guilty. When he turns, he's turning so forcefully his tie is flying. See how I'm selling that? These are secrets in the trade. His jacket's billowing a little bit. Right? He's wearing a jacket. Now, if you notice, I always kind of drop a shadow underneath, and that just really helps, again, same way this shadow helps sell the three-dimensionality of that cube. Just putting that shadow underneath, it just really kind of anchors that figure. And maybe I'll put shadows here, like that. Right? So if you want to draw like Green Lantern, it's essential that you learn how to do these kinds of things, because all you do is pop the ring in, like that. Right? Change the logo. Here's a new Green Lantern costume right here. Right. So that's really, that's the trick to hands. Here's the trick to feet. You draw the leg, the knee, and then you draw a lot of smoke like this. And here's another leg kind of coming back. Right? Alright, so that's it. Have I run out of time? Alright. If you notice when I draw, just like breaking it down to simple shapes like this, I usually do that in pencil, but it's really essential. When I was a kid, I really had no discipline. I would just kind of start drawing. I would start drawing literally like a hand over here, and I would draw that finished, and then I would start drawing here, and I would end up with all sorts of weird negative space, or I'd run out of the room, and I thought this kind of stuff was really for beginners, but honestly, when you learn enough, you realize that when you know what's going on, you realize they weren't teaching you things just to waste their time. They really were teaching you the rudimentary ways of constructing figures. So if you're going to draw a figure, take the time to construct the shapes. Think about the volumes, right? Draw these like construction lines like this, almost like vertices in a 3D model. Right? And it's critical because it starts showing you how things move. If you look at these lines here, you see how they're going like this, suggesting that it's going back into space like that. And the bicep the lines are like that, suggesting it's going into space that way. So it's kind of it's like that, right? So this is the forearm coming forward in space, and the bicep's bent, and so it's going back into space. He's going to carry two baseballs right here. Once you have that, you can go in and selectively start adding shadows again with this concept of trying to create a three-dimensional shape. So I'm going to go in, put a light source above his head. So that's going to cast a shadow, that's going to cast a shadow. These pecs are going to cast a shadow. Then maybe this rib cage casts a shadow on top of the abs here. The abs have a little bit of a shadow. This kneecap casts a shadow. The shin bone, the calf muscle here. And we're going to fade it out to suggest it's kind of disappearing into that fog. Same thing back here. But maybe, you know what, this leg is further back from this leg. This leg is coming forward. This leg is going backwards. So maybe we'll go ahead and do this kind of thing, make it a kind of a half ray. Right? Two little divots up here are curves, right? And then a lot of times I will do this, like if something can give me trouble, I'll draw on another piece of paper and actually, let's see what we're going to draw here. This is Batman, obviously. So the nose sticks out, casts a shadow like that. His upper lip, lower lip casts a shadow. The jowls cast a shadow. The chin is on the back. Jowls here, eye, good black dot. So you take this and go, all right, where does it go? Like sometimes I'll actually go like, is that too high, too low, and find the right spot and then transfer it over. It's actually I think it's a little too big. I like to draw my head a little smaller. So I used to actually go and photocopy the head, shrink it down, and then just transfer it later. Now with Photoshop, I don't even think you have to do that. I'll go to the paper. The tendons, right? The Adam's apple right here, ligaments. All right, there we go. So that's it. That's all I got time for. This is share with you. But go home and try it out. All right. It's going to be a little rocky at first because I've been doing this for a long time. But if you keep up at it, after like 15 years, you'll be able to do this. So give it a shot. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.